Okay, I think just like some of you here, that we all know, bond is borrowing money, right? And we have to repay back. There's nothing wrong with it because when we need it, that means we do need this money. So the point is, just like what question said, how are we going to allocate the money in the right way, in a good way? And this also brings one of my key points is transparency. Also, that during the process of entire bond issue, this is very important. And I'm not on the board right now, and this is one thing I think I need to study and I need to learn. I'm a fast learner. And that's also the problem that I want to find out, because when I speak to the teacher from my kids' school, and they also have the same concern because they know we have money, but they don't know what's the bond for it. And that's the same question. They all know we need to pay back this money. So they don't get enough support, but they also give that same question here. So I would like to find out more, but as right now, I know that this is money we need to pay back. But if we can good use of this money in the right way, in a good way, I think no matter how much we need to pay back, as a taxpayer payer and as a resident in this area, we will need to do it. Thank you.
Okay, in regards to the bond, I'm a visual person. I like to see things as a result of my money. And one of the things that I've noticed is that Mount Sac passed bonds at the same time as Rowland passed their bonds. Yet when you drive past Mount Sac, you see 3 new buildings, you see new fields, you see all kinds of great stuff. And then when you drive through Rowland Unified, you don't really see it. And I understand that a lot of it took place inside the classrooms, and I did go to a lot of open houses this year to see that part of it too. But I still didn't see what equaled the dollar amount of the bond that we passed, not in my opinion. Here's one of the things that, as a board member, that I will definitely request. This is a report that Mount Sac puts out annually to the community. Inside this report, it details everything that was on the original proposed bond when they first got ready to issue the bond, and then it updates on every project for at the end of the year what the status of all those projects are based upon what was on the master plan. This is really thin, as you can see. It's not a lot of money to put together. It's not a lot of effort to put together if things are being done correctly. So there's no reason why Rowland Unified can't put together a report like this once a year, get it out to the community so they know what's being done and they can see on paper, okay, this is where my tax dollars are going. So if I'm on the board, you can look forward to this.
You know, I'm amazed by the other two candidates who were able to answer this question intelligently. I have been working on bond issue advised on many corporations, even foreign governments on issuing bonds. I have been asking the school district to give me the documents about the RC response since September 19th, as you can see on my website, voteforwhile.com. It shows the correspondence in my email with the school district, ask for detailed documentation so I can study and then monitor. That's my specialty. If I don't know the contents, how can I answer the question? It will be dishonest. So that's really one thing I want to shift the focus to the fact that I have been asking the school district to produce public records pursuant to California Public Records Act. They have the duty to produce in 10 days. I have not received nothing, and that's really the problem. We need someone like me to get on the board. Make it transparent, responsive to the public, to the community. I don't know how they can answer the question, to be honest. I have not received a single page other than a one-page press release. It might be actually a breach of fiduciary for them to issue the second bond. Why? Because they already have a cash reserve of $54 million from a prior issue, and the state only requires 10% of the cash reserve. 10% means what? Only $13 million, that's what they need, because they have $54 million in reserve, and the annual budget is $136 billion. Therefore, they have almost $40 million reserve access. Why do you need to issue additional bonds? And as you know, whenever you borrow money, you have to pay the interest. The money they borrow is shrinking every day in your pocket. We are the taxpayers. Why do you have to borrow more than you need? Give us a refund. Thank you.
And the question is how the board member can assure use the bond properly.
I can repeat it.
Guys.
Shall I?
Let me repeat the question. It is, as a board member, how are you going to ensure our current bond funds are being used both efficiently and effectively?
Every bank, when the school district issue the bank, there's a guideline there. You have to use the bond in certain project. This, do this, A, B, C, D, E. And very clear. And after starting using the bank money, and the district is going to form a bank oversight committee. So selection of the oversight committee members is very, very important. We need to select the right person, the right people, representing every corner of the community to represent it. And every representative in the oversight committee will represent a group of people in the community. Then the entire oversight committee represent the entire community, the entire Rowland community. That's the way effectively the oversight committee can do their job. So oversight committee will watch the use the money, the fund of the bank. And secondly, the school district, I will ask the school district get all of the numbers, all of the bank related documents, all bank related projects, plan, and every meeting minutes available for everyone in the community. So not only the oversight committee member can see it, but every committee member can access the data and access the information. And that the 2012 Measure R ban, the ban is under everyone's eye to look at, to see, to examine that we can make sure the ban, the money used properly and is not misused. Thank you.
Thank you. Regarding the bonds you voted on were the 2012 bonds, and the information was on that ballot. The board has already decided what will be on, what they're going to use the money for, but it's up to the board to make sure that that money is spent properly. Sometimes along the way, there are changes, and the board has that discretion to do it. But I would like to see that they notify everyone if they veer off from the original plan. Usually they don't change drastically because the things that people voted on are what they expect to do, but every detail of the plan is not on the ballot. So it would help for people to have maybe more information. The Bond Oversight Committee does work to make sure the money is spent as it's supposed to. But sometimes they're not privy to little changes that take place, and people in the community wonder why this happened or that happened. So maybe that particular detail could be taken care of a little better. I visited almost every campus in the district when I found out I was going to run for office. And there are monies that need to be spent on certain things. I understand that the monies have been decided, but like last time, sometimes there's money left over that can be spent, cost effectively, and we can use it for other things. So those would be excess from the bond things. So I would like to, I'm keeping a list, and I'd like to make sure that the board knows, and when I'm elected, I will be glad to share that with you. The money of bonds, I liked Angelina's idea of having a report back to the community a little more often so the community knows what's happening. You can tell by my introduction, I go to a lot of community meetings and I talk to a lot of people and I hear what they say. So what the community has to say is important to me. And what the bond oversight says is important to me too. You can go to those meetings and listen. They're open meetings. So please attend some of them. Thank you.
A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak to several parents and students from Rowland High School. And students were asking Philip, you know, I've been at Rowland High for a couple of years now, and I'm not going to see the completion of my high school. You know, it looks like a war zone out there right now. And that hurts me. We just went through a bond construction experience at Oswald Academy, where some of these students never got a chance to attend classes in this beautiful building that we have finally put up. Bonds are bricks and mortar. That money needs to be spent wisely, efficiently, and with all due respect to the community, because it is taxpayer dollars that are being put into our schools. I want to make sure that our community, our parents, have all available access to the numbers to contractors, so we can understand how this process works, because I've been to some of these meetings, I've heard about the oversight committees, and it's very complex. We need to simplify the process by providing the information, the necessary information to our community, so we can monitor it properly. I want to make sure that our children don't have to go to schools and see ditches and dirt and hear machinery going on during the classrooms. And I want to make sure that our money is spent effectively and efficiently, not by getting the lowest bid, but making sure that we get contractors that are going to do the work properly and not have to go back a month, a year, in between that time to fix the corrections that should have been fixed in the original process. So we will make sure that it will be done effectively and positively with all respect to the community, and to make sure that our children have classrooms and buildings that they will prosper and succeed in. Thank you.
Like all of you in this room, I'm one of those taxpayers that saw their tax bills augment over the years. 3 times you've passed a bond, and certainly the oversight of those bonds are important. So the one thing that is done initially is to establish that bond oversight committee. You've already heard about that bond oversight committee. There's a member, at least one member here, that has served on that committee and still serves, because all of the bonds have not been closed out. Now, to do this efficiently, obviously information has to flow. So one, to the bond committee itself, because they're the oversight. To the board, because the board is the one that ultimately makes all the decisions. But there are a number of safeguards that you can put in place along the way. Obviously, we have a facilities person here, and the board has to hold the facilities person accountable for what is done within the district. We have to hold the CBO accountable, because that facilities person reports to the CBO. So the reports that we get at the board level are reports that help us make the decisions as to what will be done. In the last bond that is just finishing up, we saved $30 million. That is, because of a low bid structure, you have to take the low bid. That's the way that it works. You can't choose to just choose any contractor. So therefore, the low bids that came in, because of the environment that we were in, those bids came in low enough so that we were saving about $1 million on each one of the projects. With that $30 million, we were able to submit to DSA, and we're going to construct 4 buildings at Nogales High School with those $30 million. So saving the taxpayers' money and being very frugal about the way that that money is spent is absolutely essential if we're all going to maintain a good level of payment.
Okay, thank you.